Change News.
This is Voice of Change Radio News. I'm Amanda Kumalo. A quick look at stories making the headlines. Uphold the gospel of better life, President. In business news, Zimbabwe gets $193 billion for health sector development. In regional and international news, South Africa extends validity of non-ZEP permits. In sports, Masiyambumbi flies Zim flag high in India. The news in detail. President Mnangagwa has said the biased theology that discourages hard work and sustainable empowerment must be discredited by the church in pursuit of the gospel of a higher quality of life which the Second Republic is also pursuing in Zimbabwe. Addressing thousands of pastors congregating under the banner Pastors for Economic Development in Harare yesterday, President Mnangagwa also urged the church to resist attempts to push it to abuse religion for neo-imperial propaganda. In a speech that was punctuated with biblical verses and illustrations, the president said Zimbabweans must always love each other and together dwell in peace and harmony, pursuing the lofty goals of development as espoused in the National Development Strategy 1 (NDS1). The Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education has urged learners to embrace virtual learning in this digital age to improve education in marginalized areas, saying it was key in the development of the education sector. Government is making endless efforts to ensure that Zimbabwe achieves a digital economy by 2030, in line with President Mnangagwa's Vision 2030, through the adoption and use of information and communication technology (ICTs). In an interview, Director for Communications and Advocacy in the Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education, Mr. Taungana Ndoro, said the use of ICT allows learners to learn and apply the skills that they need in the 21st century. Moving on to the world of business. 5 new 60-bed district hospitals and a further 22 new health centers, each with 20 beds and staff accommodation, will be built across all 10 provinces within the next 3 years, using a loan from 3 South African banks totaling $193 million secured by the Treasury. Through the Zimbabwe Public Debt Management Office, the new health facilities are part of government's efforts to accelerate progress towards universal health coverage of sufficient quality. A look at what is happening beyond our borders and to our neighboring South Africa. South Africa's Home Affairs Department has extended the renewal of permits that expire at the end of this month to December 31. The extension does not apply to Zimbabwe exemption permit ZEP holders whose permits expire on 30 June this year. Over 170,000 Zimbabweans are based in South Africa under ZEP. In November 2021, South Africa's cabinet indicated that it will not make further concessions for ZEP holders, who were then given a grace period to migrate to other mainstream permits. They have until the end of June this year to get documented, after which some will have to return home. In a statement on Wednesday, the Department of Home Affairs said it is extending the deadline to December 31 this year for applicants who are awaiting outcomes of other applications. And finally, in sports, Top Zimbabwean boxing referee Stephen Masiyambumbi is back in the country after successfully officiating at the International Boxing Association Women's World Championships in New Delhi, India. This was his third time officiating at the competition. Masiyambumbi, who holds a 3-star referees and judge qualifications, was among over 30 international referees and judges in charge of matches in India. That brings us to the end of this bulletin.
Voice of Change News.